Let's move on now to a big overseas story, and Burma's pro-democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been given official approval to run for parliament. Suu Kyi announced last month that she wanted to run in April's by-elections.
Over the weekend, an Australian-organised business and cultural conference was held in Burma for the first time. Josh Frydenberg is a Liberal backbencher and the federal member for Kooyong. He's just returned from Burma and he joins us now from Canberra. Good morning. How significant is this move by Burma to allow Aung San Suu Kyi to run in April's poll?
Look, it's very significant. Good morning, Karina. Burma is a major country in our region. It's got nearly 60 million people. It's the second largest country in Southeast Asia and has a mighty military of 400,000 people. But it's been a military dictatorship for so many years, since 1962, and Aung San Suu Kyi has been a democratic voice that has been suppressed in Burma. She has announced, and her party, the National League of Democracy, that they will participate in by-elections to be held on April the 1st. These by-elections are for 48 seats in the Parliament. Now, 48 seats out of 660-odd seats is not many, but what it will do is give her and her party a foothold in the Parliament to extend their political influence. So I'm expecting her party and Aung San Suu Kyi to be very successful at the upcoming elections, and from there we hope that the country can move further down the path of economic and political liberalisation.
Yeah, so do you think that Burma's government is genuine not only in allowing Aung San Suu Kyi to run in this poll but in its reform agenda?
Look, I think you have to hope that they are. They have announced in the last year and a bit very significant reforms. President Thein Sein, who came to power in March last year, is a former Army General and he's a former Prime Minister. Since he came to power in March, they've released nearly 6,000 prisoners. They've liberalised the censorship laws and the labour laws, and they've set the date for this by-election. But that's not to say these changes are irreversible. I think we have to be on guard. I think we have to be very cognizant of the significant human rights abuses that have taken place in Burma, the political cronyism, the rigging of elections. See, don't forget, Karina, in 1990, Aung San Suu Kyi's party did run in the elections and won, but they were never allowed to govern by the military rule. And so therefore we have to tread very carefully, but we also have to hope that these reforms are genuine and are long-lasting.
So do you still worry then that Burma could regress?
Absolutely, and I think everybody does, and that's why there is still a strong sanction regime in place. But if you look at what the United States has said, they're going to undertake full diplomatic relations with Burma. They're going to upgrade from a charge d'affaires to a full ambassador. Hillary Clinton recently visited Burma. She was the first US Secretary of State in more than 55 years to go to that country. William Hague, the Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, was the first person in that role to go to Burma in over 55 years, and Kevin Rudd and others have also been to Burma. So the international community is very focused on this window of opportunity that they can see in Burma. They want to encourage it. They want to foster these political and economic reforms, but we will also be on guard against any regression.
You mentioned Kevin Rudd, the Foreign Affairs Minister. He's indicated that he'd like to see an official recognition of the name Myanmar as opposed to Burma. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, that's a very vexed issue because we have in Australia, and the United States and others have stuck to the term Burma, and it's a request of the current government that we move to Myanmar. I'm not so sure. I think we have to be in lockstep with the rest of the international community on this. Burma is a colonial, is a term from the colonial period, but at the same time, the ethnic majority in Burma is the Burmese, is the Burman, and so that's where that term also comes from. So I think this is quite a vexed issue, Karina, and I think we just have to see what the rest of the international community is saying on doing on it.
And just one final question. Parliament resumes this afternoon. There's been some contradictions between Andrew Robb and Joe Hockey over when a coalition government might bring the budget back to surplus. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, look, they've been absolutely consistent on one thing, which is that on the 2010 government financial figures, we will bring the budget back to surplus. And this is extremely important because Labor has a track record, the last 22 years in fact, of never bringing a budget into surplus despite all their promises. We, on the other hand, when in government, announced consecutive budget surpluses and left more than $50 billion in the bank for Labor to use when they got into power. So we have the track record, they don't, and we are expecting to introduce the fiscal rigour that Australia needs once we come into government.
Josh Frydenberg in Canberra, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Karina.